coming up in the April 20th edition of Carolina Week.
The Catholic Church has a new leader, but there are still questions about what direction he'll take the church.
And these stealth bombers travel halfway around the world to fight the war in Iraq. We'll give you an inside look.
The NFL draft is just around the corner. Find out why Commissioner Paul Tagliabue will be fishing for Jason Brown's name come draft day.
Plus your 4-day forecast.
All that and more. Carolina Week starts now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Carolina Week. I'm Lydia Garlikov.
And I'm Nora Warren, standing in for Joe Mott. The conclave to elect the new pope has come to a close. It took the 115 cardinals only 2 days to come to an agreement. The late Pope John Paul II's legacy continues through the newly elected pontiff because the late pope appointed all but 3 members of the election conclave.
Thousands of people gathered in the Vatican Tuesday waiting for a sign. The chime of a bell and a puff of white smoke answered their prayers. After 2 days and only 3 votes, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger of Germany emerged to greet the anxious crowd as Pope Benedict XVI.
Cari fratelli e sorelle.
Many questioned the conservative cardinal's ability to unify the Catholic Church. Others say they have faith in him.
Having an intellectual of his incredible brilliance will be an inspiration.
Although considered more conservative than the late pontiff, Pope Benedict served with John Paul II for more than 2 decades. Some say their long friendship will make the religious transition an easy one.
Probably nobody knew the mind of Pope John Paul II better than Cardinal Ratzinger did. So I think that there will be a continuity.
Not everyone is as certain of future cohesion in the Vatican. Pope John Paul II leaves behind a legacy of accepting faiths other than Catholicism. Critics of the so-called Cardinal No wonder whether the new pope will continue this legacy despite his own widely publicized restrictive teachings.
Although many Vatican experts predicted the vote would not take more than a week, few guessed the conclave would take only 2 days. The longest vote in history occurred in the 13th century when cardinals debated for nearly 3 years.
Well, chimes are always ringing from Carolina's bell tower, and by the seniors gathering around it, you know it's officially Senior Week. Seniors flocked to the bell tower for the annual Last Blast festivities on Wednesday. The 05 flag hung high while students checked in to climb the bell tower, play some games, and eat a little cotton candy. Excited seniors ran up the steps to the first level of the tower where the bell ringer shared the history of the monument.
I think the monument should be a dynamic one and should not just sit there closed all the time. I wish people would come and see how it works, what happens to make it work, and how much work was put into it when it was built.
In other senior announcements, be sure to pick up your commencement severe weather tickets this week at the Smith Center in case it rains on May 15th. Also, this Friday is the senior dinner and ball at Spice Street, and next Friday, cap and gowns will be on sale at student stores. Thursday night, seniors can enjoy a tribute concert on the steps of the South Building.
The SAT college entrance exam has taken a new form. Now, students will complete the math and verbal sections along with a new essay section. As high school seniors adjust to the new test format, universities across the country are looking at how they'll handle the new changes. With the class of 2005 out and the class of 2009 on its way, the University of North Carolina's admissions office is preparing for yet another batch of applicants next fall. Next year's high school seniors will be the first class to submit scores from the new SAT, but the university's application requirements aren't changing. UNC admissions staff says the SAT essays could provide the school with more resources as the office sorts through thousands of applicants.
It will just give us an additional piece. If we do need to see, maybe there's a question with an essay that a student has submitted, really is this the student who's writing, to see their writing skills, that sort of thing, then I think that's when we would require the additional or ask the College Board to send us the writing sample from the SAT.
As for next year's incoming class, the stats are in. Nearly 19,000 college seniors applied to UNC. Admission was offered to 6,678. The average SAT score of the admitted freshmen is 1336. That's up 13 points from last year, and the highest of any incoming freshman class in school history.
Well, one problem those incoming freshmen can count on is parking. New parking decks have added spaces on campus, but students are losing spots elsewhere. Carolina Week's Vida Awume has more.
When it comes to parking on campus, finding a space.
As construction continues to take up spaces for parking, many students are worrying about securing spaces for next school year. But public safety spokesman Randy Young says next year students will be a little bit luckier in getting spaces than they were this year.
Students are going to see a slight increase in the net number of permits. One of the big factors for this is the Rams Head deck coming online.
Student commuter Brian Coleman says the Rams Head deck is convenient, but a lot of students don't know it's available to them.
With Morrison going down, and those lots around Morrison going down, and then the gravel lot going down, the university needs to have some kind of initiative to let people know about what parking is available to students.
The Rams Head adds 320 new parking spaces to the available 2,699 spaces for students. But 240 spaces are being lost to renovations in areas like Morrison Dorm and the Aaron House gravel lot, which is being converted into an intramural field. This means students will only gain about 80 additional spaces for parking next year. In Chapel Hill, I'm Vida Awume, Carolina Week.
Parking pre-registration for next year has already begun. It lasts through May 19th. You can find out more information on our website, carolinaweek.org.
While students may be worried about problems with parking, university officials are worried about problems in the classroom due to budget cuts. A draft proposal from the legislature would slash almost $45 million in funding for faculty. This would force a system-wide elimination of nearly 350 filled and more than 400 unfilled positions. For UNC Chapel Hill, it means losing 90 filled and about 80 vacant positions. Overall, while it's still just a draft, the UNC system would see more than $29 million less than it requested.
Well, new age cleansers have become the norm for a quick hand wash.
But these forms and gels might not be any better than an old-fashioned scrub.
Recycling a glass bottle saves enough energy to run the TV you're watching for 1 full hour. Recycle. It's the everyday way to save the world. Making a can from recycled aluminum instead of from raw materials reduces air pollution by 95%. Recycle. It's the everyday way to save the world. Recycling all our Sunday papers would save over 500,000 trees a week. Recycle. It's the everyday way to save the world.
Mother taught me. She's
averaging 18%. Balance the budget.
Increasing clouds for...
UNC TV. Your remote stops here.
Well, health technology has improved tremendously in recent years.
But just listening to something your mother said years ago could help prevent some big health risks. Medical reporter Philip Jones is live in the studio with more. Philip?
Nora, Lydia, in the past several years, we've seen a variety of products hit the shelves that promise to rid your hands of germs. But the most effective germ fighter may be handier than you think. An outbreak of the gastrointestinal bug norovirus at a UNC cafeteria last year sickened 240 students. Junior Stephanie Smoke was one of them.
I got sick enough that I had to have an IV put in me, and that's when they finally said, oh, this is the norovirus, and the doctor said it was the worst case he'd seen.
Officials from the Orange County Health Department say the problem started here at the salad bar in the top of Lenoir, and that improper hand washing could have led to the contamination. During the outbreak, Carolina Dining Services installed waterless soap dispensers in the cafeteria. Although they remain, the issue of hand washing has faded from the spotlight. Carolina students might want to start reaching for the soap again, based on a research study done at UNC hospitals. Epidemiologist Emily Sickbert-Bennett tested how effectively a variety of products removed viruses and bacteria from hands. She found popular waterless soaps like those in Lenore and on the shelves in most stores kill bacteria, but offer little protection against viruses.
I think the best thing to do, really, if you want to clean your hands, is to go to a sink and wash them with plain soap or antibacterial soap, either one.
People who wash their hands with plain soap and water removed between 90 and 99% of bacteria and viruses. Sigbert Bennett says hand washing is more effective than using waterless soaps because during hand washing, water physically flushes the germs away, something that could help prevent the spread of norovirus in the future. Because of her illness, Smoke now appreciates the value of hand washing.
I do think it's important because if you think about it, anyone could sneeze or cough on their hands and then open a door, and then you go to open the door and rub your eye or something. I mean, I think it could definitely make a really big difference.
More so than fancy foams and waterless gels, simple soap and water could mean the difference between getting sick and staying well. But Sigbert Bennett says if you can't get to a sink, using waterless soaps and gels is the best alternative. Nora, Lydia, back to you.
Philip Jones live in the studio. Thanks, Philip. Well, as hospitals nationwide move toward electronically storing patient information, the spread of germs is becoming a concern even in what's supposed to be the most sterile of places.
UNC Student Health Clinic is one of the places using the electronic system. Some researchers say this practice could be a health hazard. A study conducted by Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago found that some forms of harmful bacteria can live on computer keyboards for up to 24 hours. The study found that healthcare professionals usually wash their hands before treating patients, but they don't think about washing their hands before using a computer. The scientists behind the study still say frequent hand washing is the key to keeping computer keyboards germ-free.
During the U.S. invasion of Iraq, many of the Air Force missions left all the way from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Reporter Joe Mott took a trip out to see the men and women who work on one of the most fascinating weapons in the U.S. arsenal.
The opening of one of the hangar doors on Whiteman Air Force Base, and Airman Christian Beck starts his day.
This is the cowboy from hell.
Though he still calls his cowboy a she, she's more formally the Spirit of Texas. Beck is a crew chief on one of the only 21 B-2 stealth bombers, a jet that costs $2.2 billion. It's a job that can best be described quite humbly by Beck himself.
Pretty much just the Jiffy Lube guy on a B-2 aircraft.
Basically, Beck and his crew handle all general repairs on his plane. It's a job each crew chief takes great pride in, and something Beck's commander knows well.
You see they got their names on the side of them, and these guys really feel a sense of pride when they get their jet in the air and it's going to do a mission.
And different names on the jets aren't the only differences between them.
Every jet has a different personality. This one, it's more, she gets an attitude if she sits down for a little while.
The slightly antsy jet hasn't had any combat missions recently, and she allows those curious enough to have a glimpse.
Like I said, this is the weapons bay. This is where the magic happens.
Though no pictures are allowed inside the bay or the cockpit, a cameraless peek is. With rules, of course.
You cannot touch this, and that.
When he's not showing guests around, he's keeping the cowboy in tip-top shape, which means checking for everything.
Before and after every flight, Airman Beck puts on his white coveralls, slides down the air inlet, and checks to make sure that nothing is in the way of the engine fan blades.
You bust your hump for about 8 hours. The jet came down broken, couldn't fly. Watching that thing take off the next day, probably one of the best feelings you could ever get.
A feeling that keeps Beck quite happy with his job. At Whiteman Air Force Base, I'm Joe Mott, Carolina Week.
Right now, B-2 pilots are constantly training, working on new bombing strategies, and testing out new weapons.
Authorities in Iraq made a grisly discovery Wednesday, finding 70 dead bodies. Last week, Shiite officials claimed Sunni militants kidnapped dozens of Shiite residents. Iraqi forces searched for the captives, but were unable to find any of them. Today, that changed when Iraq President Jalal Talabani announced 50 bodies had been pulled out of the Tigris River. Police officials say the bodies of 20 Iraqi soldiers were also found Wednesday morning in the western town of Haditha. According to officials, the soldiers were dressed in civilian clothes when they were abducted from a vehicle and taken to a soccer field in Haditha, where they were shot to death. Talabani says that all 50 bodies pulled from the Tigris River have been identified. He also says officials know the full names of those who committed the crimes.
That is very sad, but on a much lighter note, the weather this week has been wonderful.
It's been very nice. I don't think these high temperatures are going to stay around too much longer, but we definitely think that winter is past finally for good. And some of the kids are enjoying this weather, the spring weather that's here for now, and I'll have your 4-day forecast when Carolina Week returns.
When your children ask where you got married, will you have to tell them, over there by the unleaded? When we lose a historic place, we lose a part of who we are. Help protect historic places in your community. Visit nationaltrust.org.
Imagine what America would be like today if Martin Luther King never had a dream. Help keep the dream alive. To find out more about the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington, D.C., call or log on now.
Well, thank you for joining us for Carolina Week Weather. I'm weathercaster Rob Ellis. We're going to start now with our weekend weather headlines, and today's weather is brought to you by the letter C. We have 3 C's to talk about. We have calming down. We're going to have a system that's going to move through. That's going to bring us a chance for some showers and thunderstorms to start your weekend. That's going to be moving out, and when it does, it's going to be bringing us some cooling off, and as we push those clouds away, we'll be clearing out. Well, let's take a look at the bird's eye view, the overhead view, our satellite map. Starting out over much of North Carolina, you can see we're clear right now. We've had those wonderful sunny skies that you saw today. Temperatures have been well into the 80-degree area, and we just are loving those temperatures, but there's changes coming to the way. If we look out west, you can see that this area is a cold front that's going to be pushing through on Thursday and into Friday, and by Friday we hope that it's going to be moving out. And if we look at the surface map, I'll show you more of what I'm talking about. Here's the system. We think it's going to be pushing through. There is a little bit of a weak disturbance that's bringing some showers down from the northwest that's coming from Virginia, but we don't think those are going to be severe, basically some hit and miss showers that we'll see. We've had so much heating in the day that it's not out of the question to see those showers pop up. I wanted to show you out west, they've been dealing with a massive system. This system here has dumped several feet of snow out in the Rocky Mountain West, and they've actually been dealing with this for quite a while, so it's not too late in the season for too many people to get some snow. Now, we don't think that's going to be happening here. If we look at what climatologically we see this time of year, for the week of April 20th to the 26th, our high temperature should be around 73 degrees, and we've actually been 10 degrees above where we should be. We've seen temperatures, a high temperature on Wednesday of about 85 degrees. Now, as we move through the weekend, we're actually going to come to the other way. We're going to go see temperatures 10 degrees below where they should be this time of year. Low overnight of about 48, and we are going to continue to see that be the case. We haven't had our temperatures drop too low. They haven't been too much above normal as well. Let's take a look at the 4-day forecast. I can show you the whole picture here. Starting out on Friday, there's that disturbance. It's going to push through and trigger some of those showers and thunderstorms. We hope to have that out of the way by Saturday. High temperature on Friday, 72. As we move into Saturday, there's that cooling off, 62 degrees. Moving into Sunday, that's by far our coldest day of the weekend forecast, 58 degrees. 41 overnight for your low, so very chilly in the evening. As we move into Monday, though, it is going to be warming up just slightly, 68 degrees for your high, overnight low 45. Now, I know some of you may have some big weekend bash plans. I know some of the Carolina Week folks here are planning to head down to the beach. Let's take a look at the beach forecast. Sorry, guys, I hope I'm still invited. The weather is not that great. It's 65 degrees for your high on Saturday, but kind of cloudy, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a shower or a thunderstorm or two out there with what's left over of the system. But as we move into Sunday, it will be slightly cooler, but we do see the sun start to peek out, so we may get a few days to lay out, or a day to lay out in the beach. We look at the other direction out to the mountains. We'll hike up to the mountains and see that our temperatures there are going to be much cooler, and our high temperature 58 Saturday, 55 on Sunday. So some cool weather still lingering around in the mountain area for this weekend. But overall, the temperatures have been great, and I'm sure a few people won't mind a couple of cool days before the really heat of summer comes in and wears us down.
Cool days are fine. I know that this weekend is a senior ball on Friday night, and everyone's hoping for good weather then. But
maybe a few showers, but they should be fine.
Right. Thanks so much, Rob.
And the only thing that's been hot, definitely in sports, is this buzz, who's going pro?
I know, it's there. Some people have declared officially, like Rashad and Jason Brown, but then there are lots of rumors. You got to filter through it, but no one really knows for sure.
Right.
First, coming up in sports, Carolina has one of the top professional prospects in the world, but you won't hear him declare for the NBA or NFL draft anytime soon. We'll show you how this 6'9" giant stands tall in Chapel Hill and against his competition when Carolina Week Sports returns.
Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, King of the Apes, Father of Boy. He knows what it takes to be a dad. You go for a ride, you take a swim, you hang out. All it takes is time. Hey, it doesn't take a hero, but it takes a man to be a dad.
Let your knowledge grow at the North Carolina Botanical Garden. Through public service, research, conservation, and education. The garden brings North Carolina's rich natural heritage to you. It's a beautiful way to learn.
Welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Ann Sexton, and no offense, but I'd rather be fishing right now. Don't worry, we'll tell you why in a couple minutes. After wearing Carolina blue for the past 4 years, some senior Tar Heel football players might be donning new duds after Saturday's NFL draft. According to ESPN Insider, safety Gerald Sensabaugh and center Jason Brown are expected picks for the middle of the second and third rounds, with fullback Madison Hedgecock bringing up the rear as a late pick in the final rounds. Well, Hedgecock had a huge game against Miami, and his tough runs like this one, dragging Cane defenders, helped Carolina pull off the upset. And Gerald Sensabaugh had this large interception to help Carolina put away Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. And center Jason Brown helped clear the way for the Carolina rushing attack. Brown is also ranked as the #2 center in the draft, but he isn't too worried about the big day.
I'm going to be fishing in the pond behind our house. I'm going to be relaxing. My father, he's going to be on the grill, probably doing a little bit more burning it up than cooking on the grill. And if a phone call comes in, I'll just drop my poles and run up to the house and answer the phone call.
And Carolina fans won't have to miss a thing. They can watch along to see where all of the Heels will be drafted starting at noon Saturday on ESPN. Well, if you saw a student almost 7 feet tall walking around campus, you would think basketball, right? Well, think again. Sports reporter Heather Catlin shows us how this Tar Heel uses his height on the field.
At 6 feet 9 inches and 265 pounds, Vikas Gowda's looks are a bit deceiving. He isn't a basketball player or a football player. He's a discus thrower. Vikas says that people are always shocked when he tells them this.
They think I'm joking, so most of the time they don't really know what discus is.
Vikas doesn't get as much attention as Carolina's national championship basketball team, but unknown to most, this unrecognized title holder is also ranked #1 in the NCAA with a throw of 212 feet, has broke several school records, and is currently ranked 4th in the world for the discus. He even competed in the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens, Greece, representing his home nation of India. Vikas's talent doesn't stop with the discus throw. He's ranked 6th in the nation for the shot put. Vikas tried to teach me how to throw, and, well, it wasn't too pretty. My shot only landed about 10 feet from here, but when Vikas throws, his lands about 65 feet away from here. To his teammates, Vikas is known for his quiet leadership. Teammate and fellow Olympian Laura Garrity says even though Vikas is quiet, he is still very motivating.
He comes and he does his thing, and he's focused and he works really, really hard, and it's just, he's a great role model and somebody to look up to and a great person to train with.
His coach, Brian Bluetrek, says the 22-year-old has also made an impact on him.
I was at the level he was, but he's now actually taken it further than I have, and he's actually helped me learn how to teach the discus a little bit more at the world-class level.
While this quiet leader continues to work hard and break school records, Vikas has his mind set on a bigger goal.
Ultimate goal is to be #1 in the world.
After graduating, he plans to go pro and attend as many Olympic Games as possible. In Chapel Hill, I'm Heather Catlin, Carolina Week Sports.
Vikas is a redshirt junior, so he'll be able to rack up more titles as a Tar Heel for another year. Carolina's reputation as both an athletic and academic university was highlighted on Tuesday night when NCAA President Miles Brand spoke at the Keenan Flagler Business School to celebrate the UNC Athletic Department's first anniversary of the Carolina Leadership Academy. President Brand discussed the benefits and challenges of intercollegiate athletics. He answered questions as part of a panel about changes in college sports, including issues of players leaving early for the pros, certainly one that hit home. President Brand said that this organization couldn't block athletes from leaving college early to play for pay. He praised UNC's initiative and hopes another institution will establish similar programs, not only giving athletes rewards on the field, but lifelong benefits off as well.
My compliments to Chapel Hill for doing a terrific job, and if we can get more to do it, that would be even better.
Carolina's Academy is the first of its kind in collegiate athletics. While President Brand celebrated the athlete initiative at UNC on Tuesday night, the baseball team took the mound and schooled in-state rivals East Carolina. The Heels swabbed the decks with the Pirates 18-6. Those 18 runs are the most Carolina's put on an opponent this season. 4 different Tar Heels homered in the battering. Well, we have some great news. Courtney Bumpers goes to Nationals in Auburn this weekend, and it looks like she might be able to up for #1 again.
It's down in my neck of the woods.
Sure to be some tough competition. Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Well, college students these days are well versed about the ins and outs of the internet.
But for some, what the internet has to offer leads to some buying and selling addictions.
I can listen.
I can cook.
Good. I can coach.
Kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
I can drive.
I can paint.
I can dance.
A little of your time can make a lifetime of difference.
I can read.
I can help. You can help. Call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313 to find out about community drug prevention programs.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Most students are familiar with what the internet has to offer.
From instant messenger, email, to eBay, many on campus are wired in. But what happens when the draw of cyberspace goes too far? Sean Maroney reports with more.
Sometimes you get burned on some deals, sometimes you get good deals. Mostly I get burned.
UNC junior Lance Wingler says he spent most of his sophomore year feeling the heated addiction that the auctioning website eBay.com has to offer.
I would stay up late at night, not doing anything really except surfing eBay. I wasn't looking for anything in particular.
But Lance did run across some interesting items.
Probably one of the craziest things I've seen was also a fellow UNC student put up his hair to buy on eBay.
1000, 1001.
Senior George Rad said he put his luxurious locks up to bid.
Switch sides. 1, 2.
In the hopes of raising some quick cash.
This is it. This is why it was on eBay. This is why it went for $5
from his mom. But what other people bid on such unusual items? Senior Katie Farias says she recently wrangled up 2 Backstreet Boys tickets.
But I'm not a fan, I'd say.
But she does say she just can't resist the auction countdown. Lance says from personal experience that you can fight this addiction.
It's hard, but you do have to admit that you have a problem.
So I'm not really addicted.
You'll be denying it to yourself constantly.
I haven't actually been on there for probably 5 or 6 days.
But finally one night, when you're sitting up about 3 a.m., it'll dawn on you that you have a problem, that you seriously need help.
And from there, Lance says it's just a matter of willpower. In Chapel Hill, I'm Sean Maroney, Carolina Week.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.